Happy Easter. We're glad you've joined us today. My name is Pastor Larry. I'm Senior Executive Pastor here at Gold Creek, and I'm here with...
And I'm Pastor Stacy. I'm the family pastor here at Gold Creek, and we are so grateful to be able to connect with you online today.
Our service is going to start in about 5 minutes, and it is a fabulous service. The guys have been working extremely hard at putting this together, and it's good for us to come together like this. We're hoping that our Woodinville crowd is here. We're hoping our Lake Stevens, Mill Creek, and actually from all over the world that tune in here.
Yeah.
But again, fabulous service planned, and we're really excited to present it and share it with you today.
Yes.
Stacy, in this season, Easter season, is there anything that you're not able to do now that you would do otherwise if we weren't in this situation?
Well, one of the main things is having additional people over, having my extended family over, having friends over. I try to extend out celebrations as long as I possibly can, and this limits my group. I'm grateful that we do have a large family in our home right now, so that's been fun.
You have anything you're cooking this time?
I'm debating between a ham or a prime rib. It's probably going to depend on what I can actually find in the store. What about you?
You know, I typically do like lamb or... Yeah, I'm not a big ham person, but I hope we can find maybe a leg of lamb somewhere that we could cook. Now, you guys have put together the resurrection eggs, and there's been people coming all week to pick those up, and just a brilliant idea. How many of those bags did you put together?
We had about 500 of them, and that's for all campuses total. And it just, even day one, it was so exciting to see all of the families. So many of them that I didn't even recognize. It was just fun to connect again at a safe level, safe distance. But so many people brought a ton of food. You know, we asked for exchange for one food item. Nobody brought just one food item.
Yeah, while we were out there with my kids, and I think we filled 3 or 4 shopping carts full of things, which is just amazing. But the need is so great.
Yeah.
I think last week we served maybe 250 families. This week I'm sure it was more than that, and the need is great. Also, I had a Skype meeting with Pastor Luis today, and he was talking about how critical the situation is in Mexico. Being in Puerto Vallarta, where our pastors are, it's all about tourism, and there is no tourism. Hotels are closed, people aren't working, and literally people are starving. They don't have food. And so we're going to put up a link there, and if you'd like to help us to provide some food for Mexico, we would greatly appreciate it. They certainly have a lot of need right now.
And we still have need here as well. So if you want to drop off anything for the food bank, they are always taking donations, and we just thank you ahead of time.
So does the Easter Bunny come to your house?
The Easter Bunny does still come to our house, and our youngest is 17. He's actually one of the seniors that does not get to participate in graduation.
Well, we've got my grandkids live right across the street, and we're hoping that we can put together a 6-foot apart Easter egg hunt on the lawn right across from my house there. So hopefully we can do that this year.
I hope so. We are learning to be very creative in our connections, and I have been having Zoom meetings with my own family. We're planning on having one after Easter dinner, and they're spread out between Cle Elum and Bellingham and San Diego. What about yourself? How far away is your family?
Most of my family's in California, and but we do have 10 of us, I think, here, so it's good to be able to get together once in a while. It's been hard having to be apart right now, but we're hoping that is over soon, and we can be together. One of the things that I've enjoyed about our online services has been the worship. The worship has just been fantastic because, you're able to control it so much better when we're doing it like this. But the worship has been outstanding. And we've got a brand new song today, which I'm really excited about.
Well, and speaking of the worship, so just last week, watching it in my living room, it's so interesting. We're watching it, on our TV and our laptop. And one of the things I miss so much about coming together with everybody is worship and the power of that. And last Sunday, I was watching it and chatting with others online. And I just thought, you know what? I want to engage in worship like I would at church. And so I just stood up in my living room and was praising God. Worship is always emotional for me, so it was then as well. But I just encourage you at home to engage in worship however you would here at church.
I'm excited to hear from our pastors today. They've got such a great message of hope, and it's something we need right now.
Yes, absolutely.
We really do. Well, it looks like it's just about service time, so we're going to let you guys get on to watching the service, turn up the TV loud, and enjoy Easter Sunday service together.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and your children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000
have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me yet. You never fail me yet. I've seen you move. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I see you do it. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it. I've seen you move. You move the mountain, and I believe I see you do it. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it. I've seen you move. You move the mountain, and I believe I see you do it. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I see you do it again. I see you do it. I see you do it again. See you do it. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never
Hi, I'm Jessie Bolin. I'm Connections Pastor here at Gold Creek.
And I'm Shauna Goodridge. I'm the Leadership Development Pastor. Welcome to Gold Creek. We are so glad that you're watching with us online. And if this is your first time joining us, we want you to fill out our new family form. You can find that at goldcreek.org or in the comment section, and that helps us thank you for being here as well as keep you in the know about everything Gold Creek.
For your Connect time today, we've got a question for you. What's your favorite kind of bunny? Do you like the hollow chocolate bunny? Do you like the filled, white chocolate Reese's? What's your favorite kind?
I love the hollow ones. I don't know about you guys, but you need to put it in the comments. Make sure you comment with your family. What's your favorite type of bunny?
Happy Easter. I'm Pastor Alex, and we're glad that you're with us. About 6 feet away from me is
Pastor Larry. Let's measure just to be sure. Yeah, we're good. 76 inches. We're good. Happy Easter. We're glad you've joined us. I want you to know something. Here at Gold Creek, we are a giving church. We give to the food bank. We're faithful in our giving here at Gold Creek. But I've often heard that the number one reason people don't give is out of fear. It's this fear of not having enough. What if this Easter season, we don't choose fear? There's so much fear around us. What if we choose faithfulness?
You know, about 9 months ago, we as a church, we came together and we got challenged. Pastor Dan challenged all of us in how we do give. And he said, if you're in a spot where you haven't given before, he challenged us to begin to give $25 a week as a family. It's $100 a month. And showed us how the impact would multiply and how we as a church could do even more. Little did we realize that those 100 families that started that last June, of the impact that it would be having today as we as a church can give even more than we ever imagined. So if you're in that spot where you're trying to figure out, well, how do I start giving? Well, what does it look like to start giving? I just want to encourage you, as a great place to start is the $25 a week challenge. So you can pull out your mobile device, you simply pull out your text message, you can type in 77977 in the to box, and then in the message part you type in GC Mill Creek. You'll then get a response back from PushPay, and it'll direct you of how you can continue to give the steps. We're so glad you're with us. Thank you for joining us.
Again, happy Easter and stay safe.
Thanks for joining Easter 2020 sermon. Man, I'm not here alone because I'm here with you. This is crazy. I've never thought we would come to this place where we would be doing an Easter service with an empty building, but we are. But we're not alone. In fact, I'm not alone either because I got Mr. Jason with us. Hey, great message last Sunday, by the way. That was awesome. It was a killer message.
It was a special time.
It was awesome. Hey, it is Easter 2020.
Easter! Boom, boom, boom. Yes, super excited. Easter, I love it.
Jason, I invited you to come along with us because this Easter journey is all new for all of us. And we're doing this together. And everyone that's watching is doing this together with us. And you see people connected across the country. You travel all the time, although it's hard for you to travel now. You've been all over the country.
Absolutely.
You've seen what has happened in the virus. How are people taking this? What are you seeing in people as we get ready for this service?
Well, I'm seeing a couple of things. One, people still want connection. People are longing to be connected with other human beings the way we used to. In fact, my family and I took a bike ride. Now, it's 8 of us in our family, so we look like a bicycle gang as we were riding our bikes. But in our neighborhood, there's somebody who goes to our church here. And so we just stopped by and we stopped in front of their house and started singing.
Wow.
And they came outside and it was like, man, she was holding back tears because she was so excited that some human beings actually reached out to her. So people are starving to be connected. And then also people are looking for hope and joy in the midst of this time. As, things are still uncertain, people are looking for hope.
Absolutely.
And that's the beautiful thing that we bring on Easter. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. So, I mean, you and I talk about this all the time, but why is Easter so important? We get so wrapped up. You're a preacher's kid. I've been a pastor for 37 years. No, more than that. I can't remember. I lost track of how many years I got. I got a lot of years in pastoring. But right here,
Damn.
27 years ago, we started this church 27 years ago on Easter. And so Easter is an anniversary for us, but that's not what makes it special. What makes Easter so special?
Dan, that's like asking a football player, why is the Super Bowl important? Or asking Santa Claus, why is the North Pole so important? This is why we do what we do.
Absolutely.
Easter is the greatest event for us Christians. It's what makes us who we are, what gives us the stuff that we have to live this life. It's celebrating the fact that Jesus resurrected from the dead. And if that ain't it, we ain't it.
Yeah.
Easter is the culmination of all that we do.
Well, Jason, I invited you on because I'm sharing a message that's burning on my heart today, and I want you to pray for me. I want you to pray that God's Spirit is not limited by technology and all the stuff. I want you to ask God to help us today. Would you take a minute right now? Would you just pray for this service today?
I love to. Father, thank you so much for this amazing day that we celebrate called Easter. And I thank you so much for our pastor, my friend, mentor, Dan. Thank you for all that you've placed inside of him for this very moment. God, there'll be people's lives who will change from today's message. So God, we know that you've done stuff in his life way back when for this very moment. So God, I pray that you eliminate distractions of technology not working, other things in other homes. And God, I pray that you use him right now like never before as he communicates your word, your message of hope to all of us who are listening. Encourage us, challenge us, speak to our hearts, Lord God, so that we are better after this message than we are right now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, Jason, at the end of the service, I'm going to invite people to join us in my Facebook Live page. I'm going to go live.
Yeah.
And I know you and your family are going to get in the chat room and pray with people. So we just say, if you want to talk to Jason, he's going to be at the end. You'll be able to personal message him. He's going to be on my Facebook Live page. I really encourage you to do that. Thanks, Jason, for your prayers. And let's get started.
Preach the word, brother.
All right, let's get started today. So let's get started with our message today. In fact, if you have that bag, you got a kid's bag, we actually put a magnet in there with the verse that we want you to think about this Easter. It's Philippians 3:10. I want you to take that out. I want you to think about it. Or if you have a Bible, you can turn to the Bible or just look on the screen and we're going to share this verse. I want you to look at Philippians 3:10. This is the theme of this Easter message today, this resurrection message. And here's what it is. It says, I want to know Christ and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. Now, I love this verse. This says it all. Most people, when we think about Resurrection Sunday, we go back to the story and we do the story. But now, instead of picking the passages from the first Gospels, what we're going to do is we're going to actually pick up a passage that comes from a guy who wasn't there, who didn't see the story, who came after the story. And his name is Paul, the apostle, who wrote a letter to the churches. And this is a letter that's from his heart, deep from his heart. He says, I want to know Christ. Now, why is this important? Because Paul was this guy that knew everybody. If you know anything about Paul, this guy was well placed. He was a guy that knew some of the Roman leaders. He was a guy that was connected to a teacher named Gamaliel. He was the top teacher of the day. He was the one to know, the one that you had to be connected with if you wanted to know anything. Paul was the guy that was connected to the high priest. He was the guy that was connected to the high council. He was connected. He knew anybody and everybody that there was to know. And yet here's what we see in Paul. even though he's so connected, you know what he wants to know? You know who he wants to know? He wants to know Christ. I want to know Christ. You know, I think that's us today. This Easter season, I hope that's your prayer. I know that's my prayer. I want to know Christ. When I looked at this verse, I did a little deeper study. The word know is a Greek word, which is gnosko. It means an ongoing relationship. Let me illustrate that. Most of you, and you're like me, you want to get to know some famous people. Like, for example, Russell Wilson. I've been trying to call him and write him and email, and when I show up on the doorstep of Russell Wilson, you know what they do? They haul me away. No, because I want to know him, but he doesn't want to know me. That's a problem. I can know about Russell Wilson. I can know that he's a good player. I can know him. And a lot of people say they know about God, they know about Christ, but it's way different to know, which is an ongoing relationship. I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, we actually had Tyler Lockett, this famous wide receiver for the Seahawks, and he came to our church, and here I am interviewing him on stage, and then he preached a sermon. I met him in the green room, and I know Tyler Lockett. But I've noticed lately he doesn't answer my texts anymore, and he doesn't answer my emails, and I guess I don't know Tyler Lockett. I want you to think about that for us. To know means an ongoing relationship, and it takes two. And the news is that Jesus is sitting there waiting for us to want to know him because he wants to know us. And Easter is about knowing Christ. He wants to know you and I. And what's cool, he's not just famous, he's God. And if you want to know anybody, the one that controls anything, you need to figure out how to know God. And I love that prayer. So let's make that our prayer. Let's make that what we start with. We say, I want to know Christ. But it makes me ask this question. What does it really mean to know Christ? When I think of what happened for Paul, the reason that he's writing this letter, how he wants to know Christ, when Paul first came into the idea of Christ and who he was, he didn't believe in him. In fact, he not only didn't believe in him, he thought Christ was dangerous for society, and he went around arresting Christ followers. He went around arresting disciples. He went around putting people in jail, even holding the coach while some people were stoned. Paul was a guy that was going down the wrong road, doing the wrong thing, headed the wrong way, and all of a sudden, Jesus shows up on the road that he's on, and he has a head-on collision with Paul. And Paul is shocked. And when Jesus met Paul, Jesus asked Paul this one question: why are you persecuting me? It shook Paul to his core when he finally ran into Jesus, and it changed him forever. In fact, some people would say that the absolute transformation of Paul is some of the greatest evidence that the resurrection actually occurred, that Jesus showed up on the road and changed Paul. I want you to think about this. Maybe Paul's the greatest evidence, but maybe you are too, because many of you have run into Jesus Christ, who is waiting to have a relationship with you. And like me, it's the best decision I ever made. To know Christ is so, so amazing. And if you don't know him, I hope that's your prayer today, that you want to know him. Now, I was thinking about that. We've all kind of gone the wrong way like Paul. We're all on the wrong road. We've all done the wrong things. And God still runs us in today. And then he asks us this question, as Paul does. He says, how do I experience the power that raised Christ from the dead? Not only do I want to know him, but I want to experience that power that raised Christ from the dead. The power, that Greek word is dunamis, which means the same word as dynamite. And when that power showed up on Easter Sunday morning, it blew open the tomb. I mean, the rock blew away, the soldiers blew away, and the The tomb itself was left empty. It's amazing, isn't it? That power is the kind of power I need today, because there's some stuff in all of us that needs to come alive. In fact, I was thinking about that for some of you today. Some of you, your relationships are dead. Your marriages are dead. Some of you, your careers are dead. Some of us, our businesses are dead. Our dreams are dead. And for the most dangerous of all, there's a spiritual deadness in some where they wish they could come alive. They need to come alive. That's what this message is about. Knowing Christ and the power that brings you to life. The next verse actually shares it really powerfully. And it's actually the second part of this verse. I want to suffer with him, sharing in his death. Now, I don't know about you, but many people, when they preach on this verse, they leave this section out. Because who wants to suffer? Come on, you guys. I don't want to suffer. Maybe you want to suffer. It's like sign me up for the coronavirus. I want to go in, take the mask off. I want to get it. So I'm going to go in there and I want to suffer. And I want to die. That's really not what he's saying. That seems like a little crazy talk. But I want to tell you what he's really saying with this verse. You know what he's really saying with this verse? I want to let my stuff die with Jesus Christ. I think Paul, in all of his honesty, he knew he had some stuff in his life that was out of sorts. He knew he'd been on the wrong path. He knew he had some stuff that was out of line. And he needed to let that stuff die. And I was thinking about that personally for all of us. If we had a movie screen up here and you showed your whole life and everybody saw what you've done and where you've been on all the decisions you've made, you would say, man, I wish I could change that. I wish I could let that die. And what the resurrection is about today is letting that stuff die, not letting that stuff define us. And for some of you today, it's an addiction that has defined you your whole life, or a failed relationship, or a personal life that's out of control, or just a deadness of your spirit that has defined you. And it doesn't have to define you. I have some good news for you today. The coronavirus has changed our society, right? We've learned how to wash our hands more. We keep our distance. We're doing more healthy things. And why did we do that? Why? Because of the pain that you could experience if you don't do those things. For most of us today, this Resurrection Day can be that kind of life-changing experience. You can make the decision today to make a change for your entire life. It's about letting God take away the bad things that have defined us, take away the weaknesses of our life, take away the tendency to go the wrong way in our life, and bring life. You know what I wish I could do for the coronavirus situation? I wish I could alleviate it. I wish that this was the solution. All I had to do, and I found out, you open this up and go, everybody that takes this pill has no problem with coronavirus. No one's going to die. All you have to do is take this pill. The truth is, we don't have a solution for the coronavirus, but we do for spiritual deadness. And that solution is Jesus Christ and his resurrection. Easter is the antidote. You know why Easter is such a big deal? You know why we care so much about Easter? Because Easter reminds us that this is the day that my spiritual life was resurrected. And so is yours. And for some of you today, this is going to be a reminder. For some of you, it's a renewal. For some of you, it's for the very first time. Now, what does that really mean? That means that we let him come alive in us and we begin to know Christ, which is an ongoing relationship. It's not just to know there's a God. It's not just to know about Jesus Christ. It's to know him in a relationship that he wants to be in with us. We talk together. We share together. That power changes us, and it kills the stuff in us that needs to die. Let him kill those things inside of you. Well, the next verse is what I want to talk to you now. It says this, so that one way or another, I will experience the resurrection from the dead. One way or another, I'm going to experience. Now think about that. He starts and he says, I want to know Christ. Not just know about him, I want to know him. I want to let my old stuff die. But here's what I need to do. I need to experience this resurrection. I want to remind you something. There is no resurrection without a death. On Friday, Jesus was put in the grave. And on Sunday morning, Easter Sunday morning, he came out of the grave and created resurrection. I want to illustrate this a little bit. My wife and I took a trip to Egypt, and our friend helped us set it up, and we had such a great time. Here's a picture of us. We're on camels. We went out, we rented a couple camels, had a great time. We're out there with the pyramids, which are an amazing feat. What do we know about the pyramids? We know that the pyramids were created as a tomb, so to speak. They were made in a shape that was supposedly to help the Pharaoh make it to heaven. It was a triangle shape. It was a cone shape, or I don't even know how you call it. It was a pyramid shape. There you go. And the thing is, the rocks are stacked on top of each other, and this is such an amazing thing. When we talk about it, they'll say about the pyramids that those people were so smart, we still can't figure out how they did it. No one knows how they did it. They're super smart people. They just talk about them all the time. Really smart people make the tombs. They were also very wealthy people. Inside of these graves was some amazing wealth, and they would do all kinds of things. But here's the amazing thing. When Audrey and I were there in Egypt, you know what we discovered? These really smart people that no one can figure out how they did the pyramids, these really, really rich people that had all the wealth that you could have, worshipped a dung beetle. Now, I brought a couple actual real-life dung beetles for you to think about today. And you know why they worship the dung beetle? Because they believed that the only animal in all of the animal kingdom, in all of creation, the only animal that knew how to resurrect was the dung beetle. And they wanted and believed in resurrection, and then they themselves wanted to figure out how to resurrect. So they would spend their life praying to the dung beetle, because the dung beetle supposedly had figured out the resurrection. Now, if you don't know anything about dung beetle, I'll just kind of describe this the scene here. This beetle here goes out and eats poop. It's just crazy. And then after eating enough poop, I guess, for the day, he makes a big ball, and surprisingly enough, he rolls this ball back to his home. And on the way back to his home, he meets a mate who chooses his mate, or chooses her mate, by the size of the balls. I mean the dung balls that they're rolling here. I can't believe I just said that, but there it is. And so she chooses, and she attaches to the ball. And the thing is, he's actually pushing this backwards. So this dung beetle, these are actual dung beetles. They really stink bad, by the way. These dung beetles are actually pushing the ball backwards. They get lost on the way. They climb up on top of their dung ball, and they look at the stars and the moon and the sun and decide where their home is based on the stars, the moon, and the sun, and eventually make it back to the home, go down in the hole. And the next day, the Egyptians noticed that they would come out completely renewed. So they assumed that this dung beetle knew how to resurrect. But the truth is that these beetles would go down and die, and that the eggs that they laid the very next day would begin to hatch out and come out brand new. You know what I'm reminded? You know, a lot of us are a lot like the Egyptians. There's some people out there that believe that we came from nothing, that everything came from nothing. They believe that there's somehow this incredible creation evolved, and that this complex nature that we have comes from nothing, or from a single cell to an incredibly complex. There's really smart people that are believing in dung beetles. And it's just as simple as this. You know what God wants us to do today? Is to experience a resurrection. I'm convinced today that most of us are rich, most of us are smart, and sometimes we're too rich and we're too smart to just accept the simple fact that the God of the universe came through Jesus Christ, and when he was put in the grave and they wrapped clothes around him and they sealed him in with a rock, and then they sealed him with the Roman soldier seal and the Roman government seal, and then the power of the resurrection blew that all away. The only man that's ever resurrected from a tomb is not an Egyptian. It was Jesus Christ. And that resurrection power that Paul said he wants is the resurrection power available for us. Because here's the news. You can't know Christ like I know Christ until you experience the resurrection power of Jesus Christ. And I want to invite you to experience that today. How do you do that? Just make that your prayer today. I mean, think about that today. How many of us need a resurrection today? For some of you today, this is a dark time for you. You have died in your finances. Your finances need a resurrection. For some of you, your relationships need a resurrection because of maybe even some addictions in your life. For some of you, because of addiction, you need a resurrection in your life. For some of you, your health needs a resurrection. But for all of us today, we all need a spiritual resurrection. And if you haven't experienced that, and even if you have, and you forgot how important that ongoing relationship with Jesus Christ, I invite you to pray a prayer. Would you just, for a minute, just bow your heads? I want you to pray Paul's prayer. I want to know you, Jesus Christ. You pray that. I want to know you. I want to let the stuff in me that needs to die, die. And I want to experience this incredible resurrection. The resurrection that changed history. Lord, change my history. Now I just want you to look at me for a minute. You know, if you prayed that prayer, the great news is today that there's something that's begun in you. It's a power that's so much stronger than any of us. It's the power of Jesus Christ that will change you and help you. But I'm imploring you today, don't do it alone. You know, in just a moment, we're going to have this really neat worship song. For so many that have experienced the resurrection of Jesus Christ, I encourage you to stay and worship, and because you're celebrating your own personal resurrection. But for many of you, I invite you to do something. I invite you today to click the link and go to my webpage or to my Facebook page where Audrey and I, my wife and I, are going to be there live for you. We want to celebrate your resurrection today. And in the side margin and in the notes as we take those lives, I want you to chat with us and tell us, what resurrection do you need in your life? Maybe it's a financial resurrection or a spiritual resurrection or a relational resurrection, or maybe you want to celebrate today that for the very first time you have invited the Christ, the God of the universe, into your life to resurrect you. I'm asking you today to let this Easter change you forever, to experience the power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So I invite you right now, the link's there. It's really simple for you to follow. I know some of you are going to stay and follow that and listen to that song. And at the end of that song, I invite you to come and celebrate with us. Those of us that will be chatting live, I invite you to come and watch live and to chat with us. And we're going to pray with you. And we're going to write up the things on the board that you want resurrected. But today, don't let this day go by without making the decision to know Christ and the power of His resurrection. So, as this song begins, you click over. I'm waiting for you right there. We're ready to talk with you live. Pastor Jason's even going to join us. He's going to chat along the way. Join us live, would you, right now, and let's pray for God's resurrection power in your life.
Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Come on. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Come on, sing again. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. The buried body began to ring. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Sing. Then came the morning that sealed the promise.